Hello you obscure delicacies and welcome to my review of Resident Evil 3, the remake, the remaster, the new one. Okay, I'm going to get the negatives out of the way first. The big thing which really grinded my gears was the fact that there are so many forced walking sections. Whether that's a case of you're in the apartment at the very start, just walking around, if there's radio dialogue, or if you've got a companion with you, there are so many times where you just have to walk around instead of actually just run or jog or sprints. Dare I say, have a little sprints. It just felt so stop-start and just added length to the game, which, I mean, the game's short already, but it's just artificial length. Just put me in the action. The game's good enough as it is. Stop with those forced walking sections. Also, fans of the original will be very frustrated when you think of how much missing content there is when you consider this is a complete remake. It really did feel like there was bits and pieces missing, even if you were a new person going into this game. It just felt like too many places had just started out of nowhere instead of actually being more bridged by other ways of getting to that place. Also, considering most of this game plays out on the streets, there is a lot blocked off, and I know loads of people in a panic would have done that to stop the zombies coming through, but at the same time, I would have loved to have seen a take on where there's so many zombies actually taking over the streets, and you really need to get into a house or a building to keep yourself safe. But unfortunately, some of that's taken away when there's so many explosive barrels, and so many shock compartments, whatever they're called, that can just make things really easy when you're overwhelmed, even the slightest bit. Just having that extra tension of like, oh my god, there's like 30 zombies right next to me by a wall. I need to go get out of the way. I need to find somewhere safe. Would have been so much better. Also, there are a lot of enclosed places, which isn't too bad because you've got the zombies funneling from either side, but there's a lot of stiff movement, which is annoying because you want to be able to maneuver and use the dodge function to get out of the way, but a lot of the time it's so enclosed that you can't really move out of the way of the zombies, so you're going to get grabbed. Unfortunately, those zombies like to combo you as well, so if one gets you, there's going to be 2 or 3 which join in on the munch party. The biggest frustration for me was the boss fights, and this seems to be happening a lot recently for the games I'm playing. The boss fights in this game are very lacking. Like, they've turned Nemesis into an animal or a fish at some points, and it really takes away from how smart he was in the original. So he would hunt you down with like the rocket launcher or just appear from out of nowhere. He kind of does that here, but to a much lesser extent. It's just more about, okay, this is when the boss fight's going to happen, instead of, is he going to be in this room, is he going to chase me in this next section. On to the positives though. While I mentioned the dodge system can be a little finicky in some places, if you time it correctly, it is incredibly helpful. You also get a nice slow-mo if you want to target onto your enemies after you do this perfect dodge as well, so it's a nice little feature to have. Again, would have paired well if you had many zombies to keep track of, if you had just gone in slow-mo and it gives you a chance to shoot multiple zombies at once. Overall, the combat is really satisfying, like the Resident Evil games, especially recently. The combat is just great. It's always been pretty good since they've changed to like the Resident Evil 4 format, but it just keeps getting better and better with each game. It just feels so rewarding when you really do crunch one of the zombies in the head, especially when you get to see all of the markings that you've done via their damage. And just like the Resident Evil 2 remake, the game looks incredible. The graphics are fantastic. All the different details they've added to it is what makes the game so much more impressionable to me, as opposed to it just looking like, oh, everybody looks real. It's the extra little details they've added to each of the characters which just elevates it that little bit more. And one thing I was really happy with, a lot of the characters have actually been improved compared to the original. Yes, they are, some of them generic, I'm evil, but that was like that anyway. I mean, that's Resident Evil, you're going to have that, and it should have that. Yes, Nemesis is a downgrade to me, not just the way he looks, because he looks like a monster in a trash bag of some sort, and a bin liner, but overall the characters have been improved from the original game. I mean, so they should be, especially Carlos. I mean, you couldn't get much worse. This game is quite short, but at the same time there are plenty of story unlocks, so you can breeze through this game and get loads of different playthroughs. I do wish there was a mercenaries mode attached to this. It's for me, I love mercenaries mode. I like that you had like the 4th survivor in the Resident Evil 2 remakes and the Ghost Survivor series. Would have been nice if they continued that. Instead you got the Resident Evil Resistance game, which I'm sure I'll get around to playing, I promise. But again, it would have been nice to have those kind of options as well. The last thing I want to say is that you do get a bunch of different weapons, not too many. Oh, again, it's one of those things, I'd love to have seen more weapons in the game, more added into the game, but you do get to upgrade each of the weapons you get, like your Resident Evil 2 remake. You probably heard me say that a lot, but there are so many similarities. But I'm a sucker for more varieties, more ways to go through the game, more ways to play through it, and especially when the game is as short as it is, it would be nice to have more toys to play with for each different playthrough you go through. Would I recommend Resident Evil 3? Yes. I think you should get it cheaper than than what it actually is. I don't think this game is worth a $60 or £50 price tag. I think if you can get it for 30 or less, whether that be pounds or dollars, that's the nice marker to get it through. It does feel like extended DLC, but I'll be honest, the game is still really fun to play through, is really enjoyable. So especially for Resident Evil fans, but even if you're just a fan of horror, this game is worth checking out.